Today is a brand new day, and the standard we're working on for today is public speaking school. Children, we are in our second public speaking school of the year, in our second year of public speaking school. I will let you know the first two classes who had public speaking school before you did wonderful on their assignment, seriously good. I attribute that to the student speakers working very hard and it being our second year doing this. It is a wonderful opportunity that I highly doubt any of my future classes, as long as I'm teaching, will have. So we're going to take full advantage of that. Now, we have some very hard-working students who have prepared all week to deliver their parts. So I'm first going to identify them, and then we will go ahead and get started. Giving the public talk entitled American Imperialism is our dear friend, Mr. Nahom Samuel. And after that, handling our digging for historical gems part will be our dear friend, Miss Claudia Thomas. And we have to have a substitute speaker, Mr. Echols. I will do the historical reading taken from page 300 and 301. So, before we start, we have some special people who have shown up here in the back. Can we put the camera on Mama and Papa Samuel? Okay, so we're not going to wait any longer. We're going to go ahead and get things started. Let's give a warm welcome to our first student speaker as he handles the public talk, American Imperialism. Let's invite up Mr. Nahom Samuel.
Hi, my name is Nahom Samuel, and I'll be giving a talk about imperialism. Imperialism is the practice of a larger country or government growing stronger by taking over weaker countries that have important resources. Larger countries like Russia that are rich and powerful took over smaller countries like Crimea. If you look back in history, the U.S. added Alaska and Hawaii using power. In the 1890s, Spain had control over Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, and Caribbean Sea. However, in 1898, Spain surrendered Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines to the United States. All along as I repaid this 297 paragraphs 1 through 4. In 1867, Russia offered to sell its colony of Alaska to the United States. The Secretary of State, William Sedgwick, convinced Congress to buy Alaska. Most Americans believed that buying Alaska was not a good idea. They called Alaska Sedgwick's Farm. Then in 1896, miners found gold in the region. Thousands of people went to the region hoping to get rich. Very few discovered gold. What people did discover was that Alaska's fish, forests, and minerals turned out to be worth much more than its gold. In 1912, Alaska became a United States territory. In 1959, Alaska became the 49th state. Hawaii is a group of islands several thousand miles west of California. The first people to settle there came from Asia, probably more than 1,500 years ago. The first Americans to come to Hawaii were mostly traders and missionaries who arrived in the late 1700s. Afterwards, Americans began setting up sugar and pineapple plantations there. For some powerful countries, there is the United States, which is more powerful than them. For example, Russia had key interest in Alaska, which was rich in natural resources and lightly inhabited. As the United States expanded westward in the early 1800s, Americans soon found themselves in competition with Russian explorers and traders. Russia, however, did not have the financial resources to support major settlements or military presence in North America, so America bought Alaska. That goes to show you how imperialism works with financial power. America ended up gaining Alaska because Russia was wanting to sell it. Alaska was rich in natural resources and was lightly populated. The U.S. then bought Alaska for $7.2 million from Russia in 1867. Then Alaska became the United States territory in 1912. Americans ended up gaining Hawaii because the American missionaries and traders of sugar and pineapple plantations became rich and powerful. The Queen of Hawaii was unhappy with the wealth and power of the Americans and wanted to return it to the Hawaiian people. This led to a revolt and the queen was forced out. After the revolt ended, Americans in Hawaii wanted to join the U.S. Then Hawaii became the U.S. territory in 1898. In 1959, Hawaii became the 50th state in the United States. In modern times, people will say fake news when incorrect information is told to attract readers. In the past, when lies are told by journalists, it was called yellow journalism. Yellow journalism is a kind of writing that exaggerates news to shock and attract readers. Yellow journalism helps imperialists. The story is not necessarily true, but attracts readers to follow the news. In doing so, blackmail other countries. Remember, there is yellow journalism in newspapers and on television. For instance, in 1898, U.S. Navy main ship exploded in Havana Harbor, Cuba. Nobody knew how it happened, but the newspapers blamed Spain. As a result of that, McKinley declared war on Spain. Yellow journalism can be dangerous. Follow along as I read page 300, paragraph 1. After the Spanish-American War, Theodore Roosevelt returned to the United States. He became president in 1901 and served until 1909. President Roosevelt believed that the United States should build a canal linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The canal will save the ships the long, expensive trip around the southern tip of South America, while traveling from east coast of the United States to the west coast. Traveling from east coast to the west coast was a long way for ships. When Theodore Roosevelt was president, he believed in building the Panama Canal. The American and the British leaders and businessmen wanted to ship goods quickly and cheaply between the Atlantic and Pacific coast. So when the ships travel from east coast to west coast, it will be quicker. Imperialism does not exist in its true form, but it has existed in modern times. For example, the takeover in Hawaii in 1898, which allowed the United States to gain possession and control of all ports, buildings, harbors, military equipment, and the public property that had formerly belonged to the government of the Hawaiian Islands. U.S. invasion of Iraq to overthrow the government and replacing it with a friendly one. I think imperialism is not a good thing because you take resources from smaller countries and people. You also make a lot of enemies. Thank you for your attention.
What a way to start off our school. Nahom, I thought that was a great talk. It was full of information, but yet your pace showed how much you practice. I worked with you some this week. I know you went home and worked with your parents on it. And I gotta make this point, at least one public speaking school, I always make this point. Look at how this guy is dressed. I mean, my goodness. When he came in the room, everybody was like, oh boy.
It's like he's wearing Gucci.
I mean, everybody knew. So he was already dressed to be successful. And then his talk, I want to show you because the talks used to be 10 minutes, but they were adjusted to be from 5 to 6 minutes. 5 minutes exactly. What you just saw was expertise, from the way he dressed to the way he delivered the talk to his timing. That was a true expert talk. If you have the public talk assignment, whether in a future public speaking school or in our public speaking assembly, you have to make sure to go back and watch the September 20th, 2018 Echols Public Speaking School to see how to do it, because Nahom has shown you the perfect example. The perfect example. So I'm going to try and get that uploaded as soon as I can. So now
That's good acting.
I wonder why
man.
your back is aching.
I was out Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
I thought I was out Wednesday doing some professional learning thing. Woo! I hurt my back pretty bad on Wednesday. I was doing a lot of working. I was doing a lot of digging. I was out digging for historical gems. But we learned a valuable lesson today when it came to our assessments. the value of working as a team. I said, I can't do this. I'm too old. My back doesn't have it anymore. I need to call somebody. And if you're ever in aftercare, you know my golden rule in aftercare is I always build my teams around Claudia. So we're going to invite up our dear friend, Miss Claudia Thomas, to cover the digging for historical gems, and we are eager to hear your comments as well. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Go, Claudia!
Hi, my name is Claudia Thomas, and I will be giving the digging for historical gems part. May I please get a reader for page 298, paragraphs 1 and 2? Caleb.
Many Hawaiians were unhappy with planters, increasing wealth and power. Queen Lukulian wanted more power and land in return to the native Hawaiians. The wealth and American plantation owners feared the Queen's plans, which led a revolt in 1893 that forced the Queen in power. After the revolt ended, Americans in Hawaii asked to join the United States. In 1898, Hawaii became a U.S. territory in 1959, became the 50th state. The United
Thank you for that wonderful reading. How did Hawaii join the U.S.? Sabia.
Hawaii joined the U.S. when they led a revolt in 1893 that forced the Queen from power. After the revolt ended, Americans in Hawaii asked to join the United States. In 1898, Hawaii became a U.S. territory. In 1959, it became the 50th state.
Thank you for that wonderful answer. My answer was Hawaii joined the United States because they led a revolt in 1893. A revolt is a rebellion. They started it because planters were increasing wealth and power. The Queen wanted power and land returned to native Hawaiians, and after the revolt ended, the Americans won and Hawaii asked to join the United States in 1898. Then Hawaii is the 50th state of the United States of America. Can I get a reader for page 300? Paragraph 1. Asir.
After the Spanish-American War, Theodore Roosevelt returned to the United States. He became president in 1901 and served until 1909. President Roosevelt believed that the United States should build a canal linking the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. The canal would save ships the long, expensive trip around the southern tip of South America when traveling from east coast of the United States to the west coast.
Thank you for that wonderful reading. Why did the U.S. want to make the ocean trip from coast to coast shorter? Jalen.
The United States built a Panama Canal built through between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans.
Thank you for that wonderful answer. My answer was, after the Spanish-American War, Teddy Roosevelt believed that they should build a canal. He built the canal to save long, expensive trips around the southern tip of South America when traveling from east coast of the United States to the west coast. What does this week's reading teach me about history? Ava.
This week's reading teaches me about U.S. imperialism and the national interest. It teaches me about how some U.S. states came to be. For example, Hawaii and Alaska. It teaches me the impacts of those states, such as Hawaii's natural sugars.
Thank you. Josh.
This week's reading taught me about how Hawaii joined the U.S. and why it also joined the U.S.
Tommy.
This week's reading teaches me about the Panama Canal. I learned that the Panama Canal was built to open up a route between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. I also learned that after the Spanish-American War, Theodore Roosevelt returned to the U.S. Other things I learned was that what imperialism was. Imperialism is a policy of extending countries' power and influence. For example, imperialism is if I go to someone's house and say, "This is my house now." I also learned what yellow journalism was. It is a type of writing that exaggerates news and attract readers. I also learned what isthmus is. It is a narrow strip that links two larger pieces of land. It has water on both sides. Another thing that I learned was what rough riders were. Rough riders are people who broke in or can ride unbroken horses.
Thank you for that wonderful answer. My answer was this week's reading taught me about how Teddy Roosevelt became president in September 14th, 1901 through March 4th, 1909. I also learned that he built the canal to save long, expensive trips around the southern tip of South America when traveling from east coast of the United States to the west coast. I learned that Alaska and Hawaii became a part of the United States in the late 1800s. It also teaches me about how an isthmus is a narrow strip that links two larger pieces of land. What points can I use from this week's reading to teach someone about this topic? Shaylee.
I can use the points of why people moved over to the United States, and why the United States overthrew Hawaii's queen to take their reign. They also took Hawaii because they had natural sugar and they need more power to make more people come into the United States so that be the most powerful country, which they are right now.
Have you?
I can use the point of how they overthrow Hawaii and Alaska without we wouldn't have ports here today. They would have no money to go to the United States, and with it wouldn't be as much as things coming from Alaska, which would not help the economy because of lots things. Most things are made from Alaska, but mostly from China.
Sam?
The U.S. needed support from the citizens of the country to go fight a war against Spain. They had to find ways to hide the truth, but still get their support. They had to lie to them because they did not want to be like England, because they fought a war against them to gain their freedom. So they accused the sinking of the USS Maine on Spain. Also, they used yellow journalism, which is when the newspapers lie and do not tell all of the truth. But their goal was to take over other countries so they could get their resources and remain as a world power country.
I can use this points from this week's reading to show how big countries use imperialism to make smaller countries their territory, and to build up smaller countries to make one powerful country. Thank you for all those wonderful answers. My answer was I can teach them that President Roosevelt built the canal to shorten trips from coast to coast. I also can teach them about how Panama was a part of the South American country of Colombia, and it took about 10 years to complete the Panama Canal. Thank you.
Golly. This is going to be a really good year when it comes to public speaking school. I am going to really have to sit down, and maybe I got to plan out more than one assembly. Maybe I'm going to have to plan a convention, a 3-day convention, because the level of greatness that I am seeing when it comes to giving these assignments. Claudia,
I did horrible.
you did great.
No, I
That
didn't.
part, I really, let me tell you what I enjoyed. I love how you stuck to the material. You made sure to get responses from as many people as you could on 3 and 4, and how your answers were different from the answers that you had gotten. You know, you brought something extra. And that's what I talk about all the time. It's been almost 2 years now of me talking about how this book, we already know. With this book, we're having to go to page 100 for something. And then the next chapter doesn't have anything to do with our standard. Then I got to go to page 200. Then the book does not go along with the curriculum like it used to. It relies more on you all going out and doing your own research and finding your own answers. What Claudia did today and what you all did through your comments was you showed that you weren't only relying on the book. You took command of your own learning. And that's one thing that we have to do when it comes to being successful in school and being successful in life. Everything that you do in life, you're not going to get a textbook manual on how to do it. You can look at all the adults in here and all of them will agree with me. So you having the ability, Claudia, to do that research and then to conduct the part in a manner in which you got that research out of your audience, this is not only going to be an expert showing for Nahom, it's an expert showing for you as well. Timing, I want everyone to see this timing. This is an 8-minute part, 7 minutes, 41 seconds.
8:22.
Wonderful. And she talked about it. Yesterday she had 8:22. She adjusted it. Perfect. What you just saw was 2 perfect assignments. So let's please give a round of applause to Claudia. Okay, so I got a substitute for our historical reading. Let's all please turn to page 300. I'll be reading page 300 and 301. Now, for those of you who get the historical reading, pay attention to how I do it. This is a model for you all when you get assigned it in the future. Building the Panama Canal. The United States built the Panama Canal to open a route between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. After the Spanish-American War, Theodore Roosevelt returned to the United States. He became president in 1901 and served until 1909. President Roosevelt believed that the United States should build a canal linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The canal would save ships the long, expensive trip around the southern tip of South America when traveling from the east of the United States to the west coast. The best place for a canal was at the narrowest point in Central America, which is the Isthmus of Panama. An isthmus is a narrow strip that links 2 larger pieces of land. It has water on both sides. Panama was a part of the South American country of Colombia. Roosevelt tried to buy land for the canal from Colombia. The Colombian government would not sell the land. Roosevelt tried another plan. He helped the people of Panama win their independence from Colombia. The new leaders of Panama agreed to let the United States build the Panama Canal. Building the canal was difficult, dangerous, and expensive. It took about 10 years to complete. In August 1914, the Panama Canal finally opened. For ships that used the canal, the trip from coast to coast took only weeks instead of months. Lesson summary. Alaska and Hawaii became part of the United States in the late 1800s. Victory in the Spanish-American War gave the United States the territories of Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. President Roosevelt built the Panama Canal to shorten the trip from coast to coast. Why it matters. By the early 1900s, the United States had become an international power. Okay, all right, so there's your example of public speaking school from 2 great speakers and your teacher. So I think that everyone in this room right now is very happy. I know as your teacher, I am happy. I know as an audience, you are happy. I know our parents in the back are happy. And when everybody is happy, you've made it a very special time.